Surah Anam, chapter number 6. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Before we actually begin with Surah Anam, let us have a short background to the surah. And even before we start this surah, let's give you some information. The first point that we intend to make now is this is the beginning of group 2 of the groupings of Makki Madani surahs. In each group, in each of the 7 groups, in each group there are a number of Makki, there is a combination of Makki and Madani surahs. So some Makki and some Madani surahs that constitute one group. So this is the beginning of group 2. So group 1, there were total 5 surahs, of which Surah Fatiha was Makki, and then there were 4 consecutive surahs which were Madani, of which Baqarah and Imran they formed a pair, and Nisa and Maida they formed a pair. So that was group 1. In this group 2 there will be 4 surahs. So chapter number 6 and chapter number 7, An'am and Araf, they will form a pair, and these two are Makki surahs, and then it will be followed by 2 Madani surahs, Anfal chapter number 8 and chapter number 9, Tawbah. These two will be Madani surahs. So this second group will consist of 4 surahs of which there are 2 pairs. The first pair consists of uh, the first pair is the Makki pair, and the second pair is the Madani pair. So this is about the groupings. And one thing which I had mentioned in the introductory session, but I had forgot to mention while we were going through group 1, we also referred to something which is called the manzil, which is basically in terms of the recitation lengths, the Quran is divided into 7 equal parts for the ease of those who want to complete the recitation once a week. So as far as the manzil is concerned, then what we said is the first manzil consists of 3 surahs. We are omitting Surah Fatiha, which is to be recited in every rakah. So manzil 1 consists of 3 surahs. So that was Baqarah, Imran and Nisa. So Manzil 1 ended with Surah Nisa. And from Surah Maida onwards, for 5 consecutive surahs, it will be Manzil 2. In terms of recitation size, that is. And this is groups. So each group will consist of some Makki and some Madani surahs. So this is the beginning of group 2. And as we had said, there will be 4 surahs in this group, 2 Makki, 2 Madani, and the Makki surahs form a pair and the Madani surahs form a pair. The first 2 are Makki and the next 2 are Madani. So this is enough for the background, and so let's start with Surah An'am. Praise be to Allah who created the heavens and the earth and made the darkness and the light, yet those who reject faith hold others as equal with their garden Lord. He it is who created you from clay and then decreed a stated term for you, and there is with him another determined term. Yet ye doubt within yourselves. And he is Allah in the heavens and in the earth. So whenever the terms heaven and earth will come, heavens and earth will come, we are not substituting it for the terms samawat and earth again and again repeatedly. This we had already mentioned many times earlier. So you should substitute for yourself the terms samawat and earth, and we will explain about this as we had said during our session on Surah Kahf, and once again during a session on Surah Anbiya, specifically in verse number 30 of Surah Anbiya. Otherwise, we would have already covered in chapter number 18, Surah Kahf. Anbiya is chapter number 21. So, and he is Allah in the heavens and in earth. He knoweth what ye hide and what ye reveal, and he knoweth the recompense which ye earn by your deeds. But never did a single one of the signs of their Lord reach them, but they turned away therefrom. And now they reject the truth when it reaches them. But soon shall come to them the news of what they used to mock at. See they not how many of those before them we did destroy, generations we had established on the earth in strength such as we have not given to you. So those people were greater in strength. For example, the Ad and the Thamud people, for whom we poured out rain from the skies in abundance and gave streams flowing beneath their feet. Yet for their sins we destroyed them and raised in their wake fresh generations to succeed them. If we had sent unto thee a written message on parchment so that they could touch it with their hands, the unbelievers would have been sure to say, this is nothing but obvious magic. They say, Why is not an angel sent down to him? If we did send down an angel, the matter would be settled at once, and no respite would be granted them. If we had made it an angel, we should have sent him as a man, and we should certainly have caused them confusion in a matter which they have already covered with confusion. Mocked were many messengers before thee, but their scoffers were hemmed in by the thing that they mocked. Say, travel through the earth and see what was the end of those who rejected truth. Say, to whom belongeth all that is in the heavens and on earth? Say to Allah, He hath inscribed for Himself the rule of mercy, that He will gather you together for the day of judgment. There is no doubt whatever. It is they who have lost their own souls that will not believe. To him belongeth all that dwelleth or lurketh in the night and the day, for he is the one who heareth and knoweth all things. Say, shall I take for my protector any other than Allah, the maker of the heavens and the earth? And he it is that feedeth but is not fed. Say, nay, but I am commanded to be the first of those who bow to Allah in Islam. The word used is aslama, from which is the word derived. The word Islam is derived. Aslam means submission. And be not thou of the company of those who join gods with Allah. Don't be among the mushrikeen. Don't be among the mushriks. Say, I would, if I disobeyed my Lord, indeed have fear of the chastisement of a mighty day. On that day, if the penalty is averted from any, it is due to Allah's mercy, and that would be a mighty triumph. If Allah touch thee with affliction, none can remove it, but if He touch thee with happiness, He hath power over all things. He is irresistibly supreme over His servants, and He is the wise, acquainted with all things. Say, what thing is most weighty in evidence? Say, Allah is witness between me and you. This Quran hath been revealed to me by inspiration, that I may warn you and all whom it reaches. Can ye possibly bear witness that besides Allah there are other gods? Say, nay, I cannot bear witness. Say, but in truth He is the one God, and I truly am innocent of your blasphemy of joining others with Him. Those to whom we have given the book know this is as they know their own sons. Those who have lost their own souls refuse therefore to believe. Who doth more wrong than he who inventeth a lie against Allah, or rejecteth his signs? But verily the wrongdoers never shall prosper. On the day shall we gather them all together. We shall say to those who ascribed partners to us, where are the partners whom we invented and talked about? There will then be left no excuse for them but to say, by Allah, our Lord, we were not those who join gods with Allah. Behold, how they lie against themselves, but the lie which they invented will leave them in the lurch. Of them there are some who pretend to listen to thee, but we have thrown veils on their hearts, so they understand it not, and deafness in their ears. If they saw every one of the signs, they will not believe in them, insomuch that when they come to thee, they put dispute with thee. The unbelievers say, these are nothing but tales of the ancients. Others they forbid it, and themselves they keep away, but they only destroy themselves and perceive it not. If thou couldst but see, when they shall be made to stand by the fire, they will say, would that we were but sent back. Then would we not reject the signs of our Lord, but would be amongst those who believe. So this is describing the scenario of the on the day of judgment, when the accountability is being uh, done for all of us, for each of us. So they would say on that day that, we could explain, but this is generally it's easy for us to follow through. So we are not stopping in between again and here and there again and again, but only for some of the verses we will stop for certain explanations. So they would say that if we were to be sent back, then we would now believe and we would not disbelieve. We will not reject the signs of Allah. That's already too late. This is there so that people can be reminded and warned in this life itself. Yeah, in their own eyes will become manifest what before they concealed. But if they were returned, they would certainly relapse to the things they were forbidden. So now Allah says, even if they were to be returned, they would continue to return to their evil ways, relapse to the things they were forbidden, for they are indeed liars. And they sometimes say, there is nothing except our life on this earth, and never shall we be raised up again. If thou couldst but see, When they shall be made to stand before their Lord, he will say, is not this the truth? They will say, yea, by my Lord. He will say, taste ye then the chastisement because you rejected faith. Lost indeed are they who treat it as a falsehood, that they must meet Allah, until on a sudden the hour is on them. And they say, ah, woe unto us that we neglected. For they bear their burdens on their backs, and evil indeed are the burdens that they bear. Nothing is the life of this world but play and amusement, but the best is the home in the hereafter. For those who are righteous, will ye not then understand? We know indeed the grief which their words do cause thee. It is not thee they reject, it is the signs of Allah which the wicked deny. Rejected were the messengers before thee. With patience and constancy they bore their rejection and their persecution until our aid did reach them. There is none that can alter the words and decrees of Allah. Already hast thou received some account of those messengers. This is a part which we can turn our attention for a brief while, that which says can alter none can alter the words of Allah. Now the Christians, the Jews and the Christians claim if the Quran says so, and if the Quran acknowledges that the Bible, the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil are the word of God, then according to the standard set in the Quran, none can change the word of Allah. Uh, and by that case, the assumption that the Bible has been changed, which the Muslims claim, is a false assumption, because the Quran itself says that Allah's words cannot be changed. Now, none can change the words of Allah, can be interpreted as always in multiple ways. There is the book in the preserved tablet, in the Allah al-Mahfuz. In fact, this Quran is, so to say, the attested copy of that Quran. In fact, all the books that were revealed are also preserved in that tablet. And when they were revealed, they were the attested copies, so to say, of that book. I mean, that is the book of which each of the books is a part. So none can change that word. But when the people, but the people later, I mean, during the time of the respective prophets and the books, while the prophets lived and the messengers lived amongst the people, the words could not be changed. But after that, people manipulated with the words. This also refers to the Quran. In fact, this primarily refers to the Quran, that none can change the words of Allah. For the previous messages, this is to be interpreted the way I have just explained, that during that time, while the prophet or the messenger was still with them, they could not change the word. But later, the human beings, they transgressed and they did invent a lie against Allah and attribute lies against Allah by changing the words. This is mentioned in the Quran in Surah Baqarah and Imran, Surah Baqarah chapter number 2 verse number 79, and once again in Surah Imran chapter number 2 verse number 78. And it is also attested to in the Bible, that the Bible has been changed. The Bible says, imagine, believe. I mean, just look at this statement. I mean, you just need to open the Bible. The Bible says that the Bible has been changed. What more proof do you need? So for more references and details, we can actually go into the details, but we do not intend to in this session. You can refer to some of my talks on Islam and Christianity, which especially the debates, etc., the debate between Bishop Raju and me, in which you get all the details about this aspect. So we'll proceed for now. If their spurning is hard on thee, yet if thou wert able to seek a tunnel in the ground or a ladder to the skies and bring them a sign, what good? If it were Allah's will, He could gather them together under true guidance. So be not thou amongst those who are swayed by ignorance and impatience. Those who listen in truth, be sure, will accept. As to the dead, Allah will raise them up, then will they be returned unto Him. They say, why is not a sign sent down to him from his Lord? Say, Allah hath certainly power to send down a sign, but most of them understand not. There is not an animal that lives on the earth, nor a being that flies on its wings, but forms part of communities like you. Nothing have we omitted from the book, and they all shall be gathered to their Lord in the end. Those who reject our signs are deaf and dumb in the midst of darkness profound. Whom Allah willeth, He leaveth to wander. Whom He willeth, He placeth on the way that is straight. Say, think ye to yourselves, if there come upon you the punishment of Allah, or the hour that you dread, Would ye then call upon other than Allah? Reply if you are truthful. Nay, on Him would ye call. And if it be His will, He would remove the distress which occasioned you your call upon him, and ye would forget the false gods which ye joined with him. Before thee we sent messengers to many nations, and we afflicted the nations with suffering and adversity, that they call Allah in humility. When the suffering reached them from us, why then did they not call Allah in humility? On the contrary, their hearts became hardened, and Satan made their sinful acts seem alluring to them. But when they forgot the warning they had received, we opened to them the gates of all good things until in the midst of their enjoyment of our gifts, on a sudden, we called them to account, when lo, they were plunged in despair. Of the wrongdoers, the last remnant was cut off. Praise be to Allah, the cherisher of the worlds. Say, think ye, if Allah took away your hearing and your sight and sealed up your hearts, who, a God other than Allah, could restore them to you? See how we explain the signs by various symbols, yet they turn aside. Say, think ye, if the punishment of Allah comes to you, whether suddenly or openly, will any be destroyed except those who do wrong? We send the messengers only to give good news and to warn. So those who believe and mend their lives, upon them shall be no fear, nor shall they grieve. But those who reject our signs, them shall punishment touch, for for that they ceased not from transgressing. See, I tell you not that with me are the treasures of Allah, nor do I know what is hidden, nor do I tell you I am an angel, but I follow what is revealed to me. Say, can the blind be equal? Can the blind be held equal to the seeing? Will you then not consider? The wisdom in the verses of the Quran are so very profound. Look at this verse, for example. Say, I tell you not that with me are the treasures of Allah. This is what the Prophet ﷺ is being instructed to inform us. Nor do I tell you I am an angel, but I but follow what is revealed to me. Even the Prophet is following what is revealed to him, the Quran. See, can the blind be equal to the seeing? I mean, look at the similes, look at the way things are being explained. Will you then not consider? Give this warning to those in whose hearts is the fear that they will be brought to judgment before the Lord. Except for him, they will have no protector nor intercessor that they may guard against evil. Send not away those who call on their Lord morning and evening, seeking his face. In naught art thou accountable for them, and in naught art they accountable for thee, that thou shouldest turn them away and thus be one of the unjust. Thus did we test some of them by others, that they should say, is it these then that Allah hath favored from amongst us? Doth not Allah know best those who are grateful? When those come to thee, when those come to thee who believe in our signs, say, peace be on you. Your Lord hath inscribed for himself the rule of mercy. Verily, if any of you did ever Verily, if any of you did evil in ignorance, if any of you did evil in ignorance and thereafter repented and amended his conduct, lo, he is oft forgiving, most merciful. Thus do we explain the signs in detail, that the way of the sinners may be shown up. Say, I am forbidden to worship those others than Allah, whom ye call upon. Say, I will not follow your vain desires. If I did, I would stray from the path and be not of the company of those who receive guidance. See, for me, I am on a clear sign from my Lord, but you reject him. What ye would see hastened is not in my power. The command rests with none but Allah. He declares the truth, and He is the best of judges. Say, if what ye would see hastened were in my power, the matter would be settled at once between you and me. But Allah knoweth best those who do wrong. Now, look at the frustration. I would not use such strong words, but I don't know. Nothing other than that particular word is coming to my mind at this point of time. Look at the the thought processes, so to say, that is going in the mind of the Prophet ﷺ, that these people have harassed him to such an extent that he says that if it was in my power to the settled issue between you and me, that would have been settled long ago. But then Allah is giving you a time. It's actually a grace upon you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So look at the frustration level. Look at the, I mean, when I use such words, it can be negatively interpreted. So if it does involve a negative connotation, I take my words. But then I'm just trying to indicate the pain these people are pain in the neck to the Prophet ﷺ. They were disobedient when he was speaking the truth, and they were not disobeying him, they were disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because they were rejecting not him. This was what was mentioned a few verses earlier. They're not rejecting him, they're rejecting the signs of Allah. A verse in this chapter itself. Okay. With him are the keys of the unseen, the treasures that none knoweth but he. He knoweth whatever there is on the earth and in the sea. Not a leaf doth fall but with his knowledge. There is not a grain in the darkness or depths of the earth, nor anything fresh or dry, green or withered, but is inscribed in a record clear to those who can to those who can read. Now, there is a part of this verse number 59, that it says, "Not a leaf doth fall, but with his knowledge." Actually, there is a uh, common thought that goes around, which people say the statement that even every leaf falls with the permission of Allah. Uh, I mean, it will not wait for the permission of Allah. If each and every leaf does not wait for the permission of Allah. What is mentioned is more appropriate, and this is the correct understanding. Not a leaf doth fall, but with his knowledge. Whenever leaf does fall, it is with his knowledge. So Allah is not just to keep, I mean, everything is in his knowledge, but not that nothing happens without his permission. Yes, nothing can happen without his permission. That's absolutely fine. But then every time a leaf has to take permission, I mean, Allah is not micromanaging the universe, so to say. It's beyond his majesty. So the words that we invent may not be very appropriate even. The words that are mentioned in the Quran are so apt and appropriate. So we must not dilute the statements that are already mentioned in the Quran. I have heard this statement many times. Many people say this, and they just say it. But what is mentioned in the Quran is more appropriate. They say that not a leaf can fall without the permission of Allah. That's okay. That's fine. But what is mentioned makes more sense. Not a leaf falls, but it is in His knowledge. Okay. It is He who doth take your souls by night, and hath knowledge of all that ye have done by day. By day doth He raise you up again, that term appointed may be fulfilled. In the end, unto Him will your return. Unto Him will be your return. Then will He show you the truth of all. Then will He show you the truth of all that He did. Okay. This verse will not be actually very relevant now, but I still want to make a point. What exactly happens when we are sleeping? The word is yatawaffakum. Yatawaffa. It's wafa. It's related to wafat. There are two terms in the Arabic language. One is maut and one is wafat. Sometimes, due to the influence of other languages, they are sometimes treated synonymously, but in Arabic they have distinct meanings. Even in the translations, they sometimes dilute the concept and translate both as death, both maut as death and wafat as death. But there is a difference. We'll perhaps touch on this subject in our discussion on Surah Kahf, when we will actually bring in those verses from Surah Nisa as well, and this verse where what happened with Isa alayhi salam is mentioned. So things will become more clear. We'll actually relate it with the concept of the samawat and the earth at that time. So basically what I want to say, to keep it short, is we do not experience death. What we experience at night time is wafat. So that's enough for now. We'll explore this subject inshallah later once again. and if I do miss in this series, because it is going to be a brief and rapid translation, rapid explanation, in case I miss, I'll take this up as a separate discussion, a separate lecture session, inshallah. This is something which I have intended. I've actually delivered some lectures, but those were more of an informal lectures, informal discussions. So I do want to record this. This is actually a very important subject. Especially some people, they create this confusion that Isa alayhi salam had died, and then he's not going to come back again physically. So, and then it leads up doorways to all sorts of confused explanations, interpretations, all of which are necessarily wrong. Okay, so we'll come back to this topic and let's proceed for now. He is irresistibly he is irresistibly supreme over his servants, and he sets guidance over you. At length, when death approaches one of you, our angels take his soul, and they never fail in their duty. Then are they returned unto Allah, their true protector. Surely He is the command, and He is the swiftest in taking count. Say, who is it that delivereth you from the darkness, recesses of land and sea? When ye call upon Him in humility and in secret, if He only delivers us from these dangers, we vow we shall truly show our gratitude. Say, it is Allah that delivereth you from these and all other distresses, and yet ye worship false gods. Say, He hath power to send calamities on you from above and below, or to cover you with confusion in party strife, giving you a taste of mutual vengeance, each from the other. See how we explain the signs in diverse ways, that they may understand. But thy people reject this, though it is the truth. Say, not mine is the responsibility for arranging your affairs. For every for every prophecy is a limit of time, and soon shall ye know it. When thou seest men engaged in vain discourse about our signs, turn away from them, unless they turn to a different theme. If Satan ever makes thee forget, then after recollection, sit not thou in the company of those who do wrong. On their account, no responsibility falls on the righteous, but their duty is to remind them that they may learn to fear Allah. Leave alone those who take their religion to be mere play and amusement and are deceived by the life of this world, but continue to admonish them with it, that is the Quran, Al-Quran. Lest a soul is caught in its own ruin by its own action, it will find for itself no protector or intercessor except Allah. If it offered every ransom or reparation, none will be accepted. Such is the end of those who deliver themselves to ruin by their own acts. They will have for drink only boiling water, and for punishment one most grievous, for they persisted in rejecting Allah. Say, shall we call on others besides Allah, things that can do us neither good nor harm, and turn on our heels after receiving guidance from Allah, like one whom the Satans have made into a fool, wandering bewildered through the earth, his friends calling, come to us, vainly guiding him to the path. Say, Allah's guidance is the only guidance, and we have been directed to submit ourselves to the Lord of the worlds, to establish regular prayers and to fear Allah, for it is to Him that we shall be gathered together. It is He who created the heavens and the earth with the truth. The day He saith, be, behold, it is. His word is the truth. His will be the dominion the day the trumpet will be blown. He knoweth the unseen as well as that which is open. For He is the wise, well acquainted with all things. Lo, Abraham said to his father Azar, takest thou idols for gods? For I see thee and thy people in manifest error. So also did we show Abraham the kingdom of the heavens and the earth, that he might have certitude. When the night covered him over, he saw a star. He said, this is my Lord. Now from this verse onwards, there are actually two possible interpretations. First, let's read through and then I'll explain this passage. When the night covered him over, he saw a star. He said, this is my Lord. But when it set, he said, I love not those that set. When he saw the moon rising in splendor, he said, this is my Lord. But when the moon set, he said, unless My Lord, guide me, I shall surely be among those who go astray. When he saw the sun rising in splendor, he said, This is my Lord, this is the greatest of all. But when the sun set, he said, O my people, I am indeed free from your guilt of giving partners to Allah. For me, I have set my face firmly and truly towards Him who created the heavens and the earth, and never shall I give partners to Allah. His people disputed with him. He said, come ye to dispute with me about Allah, when He Himself hath guided me. I fear not the beings ye associate with Allah. Unless my Lord willeth, nothing can happen. My Lord comprehendeth in His knowledge all things. Will ye not yourselves be admonished? How should I fear the beings ye associate with Allah, when ye fear not to give partners to Allah without any warrant having been given to? Which of us two parties hath more right to security? Tell me if you know. So I think we have proceeded too far along. So let's just take a pause and revisit the passage. Now, some people say that Ibrahim alayhi salam actually did think for a while that the star was God. And then when the star set and the moon rose, he did think for a while that the moon was God. And then when the moon set and the sun rose in the morning, he did think for a while that the sun is God. We completely reject this interpretation. We say that a prophet, such a prophet who has, whom Allah has taken him as a special friend, as he is referred to as Khalilullah, the special friend of Allah, he cannot be misguided to such an extent, to such a low level. So what we interpret is that he was saying this as a matter of, by way of explanation, so that the people could understand that this is such a baseless claim to consider the stars and the moon and the sun as gods besides Allah. So this interpretation also has some basis because of this verse, or this part of the verse. When the sun also said, he said, O my people, I am indeed free from your guilt of giving partners to Allah. So there were people present and he was addressing those people. So it's a rhetoric question. It was meant to be a way to get people to think, okay, the stars. So I think this must be God, isn't it? So the people were listening to his logic, to his argument, and then he would later, how he would falsify those arguments to prove that there is no God besides Allah. So that was precisely what he was doing, what he intended. This is the interpretation that we think is correct because it's logical, and we cannot accept that Ibrahim alayhis salam, even for a brief while, thought that the star or the moon or the sun was actually the God. This is beyond. Ibrahim alayhis salam, don't degrade him to Tom, Dick, Harry levels. Don't degrade it to you and me levels. So this is the correct interpretation. And we get some proof, as I have said, logically, as well as some basis in the verse itself. So he was, as a way of explanation to the people who was with him, okay, so this is the God. Oh, I see. But no, this is said, so this cannot be the God. And the people were listening to him. Oh, so this must be the God. No, this cannot be the God. So the sun, the brightest of it, rose now, sunrise. So this must be the God. No, but this is set again. This is set as well. So this cannot be the God. So this was his way of explanation. Okay. And then there is another beautiful passage which says that they say that you should fear, that you are rejecting our gods. He said, why should I fear? Rather, you should fear that you're attributing partners to God when there are none. So who is more on the path of truth? And who is more with guidance and security? Who is more safe? Okay, so this is where we stopped, and so we'll continue from here. It is those who believe and mix not the beliefs with wrong that are truly in security, for they are on right guidance. That was our argument which we gave to Abraham. And now this argument could refer to that argument as well, because he is speaking a number, and this passage itself discusses so many things which the people normally attribute, and these are being actually refuted. So this argument can also refer to the argument which I gave, and this seems to be very logical as well. That was our argument which we gave to Abraham. If that is correct, if what we are saying is correct, then this actually comes, this hikmah, this wisdom actually came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself. We gave to Abraham to use against his people. We raise whom we will, degree after degree, for thy Lord is full of wisdom and knowledge. We gave him Isaac and Jacob, all three we guided, and before him we guided Noah among his progeny, David, Solomon, Job, Joseph, Moses, and Aaron. Thus do we reward those who do good. Now, some people can say that this passage mentions about Isaac and Jacob, but does not mention Ismail. But Ismail alayhi salam is mentioned in other passages. So just taking a verse in isolation, it doesn't serve any purpose. It's describing one chain and the others are describing the other chain. It's as simple as that. And Zachariah and John means Yahya, John the Baptist, Yahya alayhi salam, and Jesus and Elias, all in the ranks of the righteous, and Ismail and Elisha. In fact, Ismail alayhi salam is also mentioned, and Ismail and Elisha, and Jonas, this is Yunus or Jonah, the person in the belly of the whale, and the Lot, that is Lut alayhi salam. And to all we gave favor above the nations, to them and to their fathers and progeny and brethren. We chose them and we guided them to a straight way. This is the guidance of Allah. He giveth that guidance to whom He pleaseth of His servants. If they were to join other gods with Him, all that they did would be vain for them. These were the men to whom we gave the book and judgment and prophethood. If these their descendants reject them, behold, we shall entrust their charge to a new people and who reject them not. Those were the prophets who received Allah's guidance, follow the guidance they received. Say, no reward for this do I ask of you. This is but a reminder to the nations. So this is a verse, and also this theme will come up in Surah, I guess it's Shura, chapter number 26. So, no reward for this do I ask of you. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying that I don't take any money from you to preach this, to pass on this message. Let's read this verse again. Those were the prophets who received Allah's guidance. Follow the guidance. Follow the guidance they received. Say, no reward for this do I ask you. I don't ask you for anything. For example, the poets, they arranged parties with the poets and they would recite poems and people would pay, they would charge money for that. So the Prophet ﷺ is saying, this is the truth, this comes from Lord and I don't charge for it. So one of the interpretations that we can also derive from this verse is that it's not correct to charge anything for preaching Islam. So if someone invites you and you go and preach, you should not charge anything, just like many of the so-called scholars do today. So this is what can be derived from this verse as well. No reward for this do I ask of you. This is but a reminder to the nations. No just estimate. Again, there can be some, there are actually hadith statements which does allow you to charge something. There are, but then ideally you should not charge. Now you would say, what about running a course or a school, for example? I mean, you're providing a service. In that case, you can charge, but going for a lecture session, for a preaching session, especially when you're invited and they're bearing the expenses of making the arrangements and for your travel expenses, in those situations, most certainly, it's not correct for you to charge. So this interpretation, what I just said, can be taken from this verse as well as we will come across in Surah Shura, chapter 26. No just estimate of Allah do they make when they say, nothing doth Allah send down to man by way of revelation. Say, who then sent down the book which Moses brought, a light and guidance to man? But ye make it into separate sheets for show, while ye conceal much of its contents. Therein were ye taught that which ye knew not, neither ye nor your fathers. Say, Allah sent it down, then leave them to plunge in vain discourse and trifling. And this is a book which we have sent down, bringing blessings and confirming the revelations which came before it, that thou mayst warn the mother of cities. Mother of cities, actually, this is Ummul Quran. which refers to Makkah, warned the mother of cities and all around her. Those who believe in the hereafter believe in this book, and they are constant in guarding their prayers. Who can be more wicked than one who inventeth a lie against Allah? Or saith, I have received inspiration when he hath received none? Or again, who saith, I can reveal the like of what Allah hath revealed? If thou couldest but see how the wicked do fare in the agonies of death, the angels stretch forth their hands, saying, Yield up your souls. This day shall you receive your reward, a chastisement of disgrace, for that ye used to tell lies against Allah, and scornfully to reject of his signs. And behold, ye come to us bare and alone, as we created you for the first time. Ye have left behind you all the favors Ye have left behind you all the favors which we bestowed on you. We see not with you your intercessors, whom ye thought to be our partners in your affairs. So now all relations between you have been cut off, and your pet fancies have left you in the lurch. It is Allah who causeth the seed to rain, and the date stone to split and sprout. He causeth the living to issue from the dead, and He is the one to cause the dead to issue from the living. That is Allah. Then how are you deluded away from the truth? He it is that cleaveth the daybreak from the dark. He makes the night for rest and tranquility, and the sun and moon for the reckoning of time. Such is the judgment and ordering of Him, the exalted in power, the omniscient. It is He who maketh the stars as beacons for you, that ye may guide yourselves with their help through the dark spaces of land and sea. We detail our signs for people who know. Now, this is a wonderful passage. It's hardly been interpreted much. So, the stars can function as light. Now, it cannot function as a torchlight because that light is dim. So how can they function as lamps or as lights? They can function as lights to give you directions. If you know about the proper arrangement of the stars and the constellations, then you'll have some idea about the directions and about the time, etc. So this is what the verse is referring to. It is He who hath produced you from a single soul. Then there is a resting place and a repository. We detail our signs for people who understand. It is He who sendeth down rain from the skies. With it we produce vegetation of all kinds. From some we produce green crops, out of which we produce close compounded grain, out of the date palm and its sheaths, or spades, some clusters of dates, hanging low and near. And then there are gardens of grapes and olives and pomegranates, which similar in kind, yet different in variety. When they begin to bear fruit, feast your eyes with the fruit of the ripeness thereof. Behold, in these things there are signs for people who believe, yet they make the jinns equals with Allah, though Allah did create the jinns, and they falsely, having no knowledge, attribute to Him sons and daughters. Praise and glory be to Allah, for He is above what they attribute to Him. Wonderful originator of the heavens and the earth, how can He have a son when He hath no consort? He created all things, and He hath full knowledge of all things. That is Allah, your Lord. There is no God but He, the Creator of all things. Then worship ye Him, and He hath power to dispose of all affairs. No vision can grasp Him, but His vision is over all, His grasp is over all vision. He is subtle, well aware. You can remember this verse, it's a very powerful verse, Surah Anam, chapter number 6, verse number 103. No vision can grasp Him, but His grasp is over all vision. He is subtle, all aware. Now have ye come to you from your Lord, now have come to you from your Lord proofs to open your eyes. If any will see, it will be for the good of his own soul. If any will be blind, it will be to his own harm. I am not here to watch over your doings. Thus do we explain the signs by various ways, that they may say, Thou hast learnt this from somebody, and that we may make the matter clear to those who know. Follow what thou art taught by inspiration from the Lord. There is no God but He. And turn aside from those who join gods with Allah. If it had been Allah's will, they would not have taken false gods, but we made not one to watch over their doings, nor art thou set over them to dispose of their affairs. Revile not ye those whom they call upon besides Allah, lest they out of spite revile Allah in their ignorance. Thus have we made alluring to each people its own doings. In the end, they will return to their Lord, and He shall then tell them the truth of all that they did. They swear the strongest oaths by Allah that if a special sign came to them, by it they would believe. Say, certainly all signs are in the power of Allah, but what will make you Muslims realize what even if special signs came, they will not believe? We too shall turn to confusion their hearts and their eyes, even as they refuse to believe in this in the first instance. We shall leave them in their trespasses to stumble blindly. Even if we did send unto them angels, and the dead did speak unto them, and we gathered together all things before their very eyes, they are not the ones to believe, unless it is in Allah's plan. But most of them ignored the truth. Likewise did we make for every messenger an enemy, Satans among men and jinns, inspiring each other and flowery with flower discourses by way of deception. If thy Lord had so willed, they would not have done it. So leave them and what they forge. To such deceit let the hearts of those incline who have no faith in the hereafter, and let them delight in it, and let them earn from it what they may. Say, shall I seek for judge other than Allah, when He it is who hath sent unto you the book, explained in detail? They know full well to whom we have given the book, that it hath been sent down from thy Lord in truth. Never be then of those who doubt. The word of the Lord doth find its fulfillment in truth and in justice. None can change His words. So this word is this part of the verse is again repeated. None can change His words, which usually the Jews and the Christians they bring up again and again to claim that the Bible, according to the Quran, cannot be changed. And we have explained in brief about the issue. None can change His words, for He is the one who heareth and knoweth all. Who heareth and knoweth all. So this primarily refers to the Quran, and even if it refers to the other books, it refers to that which is in the preserved tablet. So none can change that words. It's preserved. It's in Loh Mahfuz. It's in the preserved tablet. The book of which all the books are parts, right from Sufi Adam to the Quran, and then the human beings they change, which is in the previous books, which is mentioned in the Quran as well as mentioned in the Bible. So it's very easy for those who can understand to understand what's being said. There's no complications in it. None can change His words, for He is the one who heareth and knoweth all. Wert thou to follow the common run of those on earth, they will lead thee away from the way of Allah. They follow nothing but conjecture. They do nothing but lie. This is a very important verse. This is Surah Anam, chapter number 6, verse number 116. That the word used is aksara, which is the majority. If wert thou to follow the majority of the people, follow the common run of those on earth, they will lead thee away from the way of Allah. So if you were to follow the majority, they will lead you astray. So majority has no basis in Islam. The truth has a basis in Islam. So this is something very important, a very important message of Islam. Thy Lord knoweth best who strayeth from his way, He knoweth best those who are rightly guided. So eat of meats on which Allah's name hath been pronounced, if ye have faith in His signs. Why should ye not eat of meats on which Allah's name hath been pronounced, when He hath explained to you in detail what is forbidden to you, except under compulsion of necessity? But many do mislead men by low desires without knowledge. The Lord knoweth best those who transgress. Eschew all sin, open or secret. Those who earn sin will get due recompense for their earnings. Eat not of meats on which Allah's name hath not been pronounced. That would be impiety. But the Satans ever inspire their friends to contend with you. If you were to obey them, you would indeed be pagans. Can he who was dead, to whom we gave life and a light, whereby he can walk amongst men, be like him who is in the depths of darkness, from which he can never come out? Thus to those without faith their own deeds seem pleasing. Thus have we placed leaders in every town, its wicked men, to plot and burrow therein, but they only plot against their own souls, and they perceive it not. When there comes to them a sign from Allah, they say, we shall not believe until we receive one exactly like those received by Allah's messengers. Allah knoweth best where to place His mission. Soon will the wicked be overtaken by humiliation before Allah and a severe chastisement for all their plots. Those whom Allah willeth to guide, He opened the breast to Islam. Those whom He willeth to leave straying, He maketh their breast close and constricted, as if they had to climb up to the skies. Thus doth Allah lay abomination on those who refuse to believe. This is the way of thy Lord, leading astray. We have detailed the signs for those who receive admonition. For them will be a home of peace with the Lord. He will be their friend because they practiced righteousness. On the day when He will gather them all together and say, O ye assembly of jinns, much toll did ye take of men. Their friends amongst men will say, Our Lord, we made profit from each other, but alas, we reached our term which thou didst appoint for us. He will say, The fire be your dwelling place. You will dwell therein forever, except as Allah willeth. For my Lord is full of wisdom and knowledge. This is a difficult part. The fire will be a dwelling place. You will dwell therein forever. Except as Allah willeth, for thy Lord is full of wisdom and knowledge. Actually, the translation does say you will dwell therein forever, but the Arabic says khalidina fiha, you will dwell therein. It does not add the word abada, which actually means forever. And the reason, and this is philosophy, it's too complex. Okay, I'll try to explain in brief. I don't want to extend the session to unreasonable lengths. Except as Allah willeth. So this is a part. I mean, there is a concept basically in Islam. Let me explain the concept, that you are punished to the extent that you commit sin. You are accountable and to be punished to the extent that you commit sin, that you sin. And you are rewarded not to the extent that you do good, but multiple times over. So in your finite life in this world, the sin is finite. It's not infinite. It may be too much. It may be unimaginable, excessive, but it has to be finite. The rewards, as I said, it is multiplied. This is the grace of Allah. But the sin is to the extent to which you commit sin. Based on this, there are two schools of thoughts, two ideas basically, that will the hell last forever or not. Some people think or say or claim that the hell will last forever. Much of it has got to do with the translations. I'm not saying there aren't certain verses which are difficult to interpret, or maybe even certain hadith statements which are difficult to interpret, but the majority are based on translations. For example, this one, the word forever is not there in the Arabic text at all, not at all. The word abadan is not used at all in the Arabic text, but they have added forever because of their own thinking. So the idea is, those who say that the hell will last forever and they will continue to be punished forever and forever and forever. And there is the other group which has this idea that no, the hell will last till it is supposed to last, when the person would have suffered the consequence of his or her sin. Then one of the two things, depending on, for example, a person, I mean, there will be those who will eventually make it to heaven, and they will be punished in the hell to the extent of their sin. They will actually, this is one possible interpretation for the except as Allah willeth, they will eventually make it to heaven after serving a punishment term in the hellfire. But then the other interpretation is also this will happen actually for some people. They will be punished to the extent of their sin, and then they will go to heaven. And the gradations heaven, not that he has to go to the highest heaven. For the Lord, obviously he will not. For thy Lord is full of wisdom and knowledge. For the Lord is full of wisdom and knowledge. Now, that this verse should end, for thy Lord is full of wisdom and knowledge, itself is profound. It does not end with those attributes which are to do with power and strength. Obviously, if it were to end with something which got to do with power and strength, then that would have had some connotations behind the punishment aspect. But then Lord has wisdom and knowledge. So there is this interpretation that which suggests that after those who have to come out from the hell, those who make out, and after those who are not to ever come out of the hell, they are not to enter heaven ever. So their identity will cease to exist. They will be punished, and that's the end of them all. That's it, done with them. So their identity itself will cease to exist. So this is the interpretation. As I have said, this is a philosophical aspect, a metaphysical aspect. These are difficult passages, but this is the interpretation I like to go with. And I have tried to explain in brief. Obviously, philosophical and metaphysical issues cannot be described in a minute or so, but I've tried to do that because that is in conformity with the theme of this series. We can actually pick up this for a later discussion in a separate lecture session. These are interesting passages, not just interesting, these are difficult passages as well. And some of the mistranslations have added to the confusion which I have indicated for this verse. So, Khalidina fiha, they will abide therein, but then they have made in the translation, they will abide therein forever, the word abada, which means forever, which is present in certain other verses, especially those related to the heaven, they will abide therein forever. The word abada is actually not present in this verse. So that's my interpretation, which I think is more correct for the reasons I've explained in brief. Thus do we make the wrongdoers turn to each other because of what they earn. O ye assembly of jinns and men, came there not unto you messengers from amongst you, setting forth unto you my signs and warning you of the meeting of this day of yours? They will say, we bear witness against ourselves, it was the life of this world that deceived them. So against themselves they will bear witness that they rejected faith. The messengers were sent thus, for thy Lord would not destroy the towns unjustly whilst their occupants were unwarned. To all are degrees or ranks according to their deeds, for thy Lord is not unmindful of anything that they do. Thy Lord is self-sufficient, full of mercy. If it were his will, he could destroy you, and in your place appoint whom he will as your successors, even as he raised you up from the posterity of other people. All that hath been promised unto you will come to pass, nor can ye frustrate it in the least bit. Say, O my people, do whatever ye can, I will do my part, soon will ye know who it is whose end will be best in the hereafter. Certain it is that the wrongdoers will not prosper. Out of what Allah hath produced in abundance in tilth and in cattle, they assigned him a share, they say, according to their fancies. This is for Allah and this for our partners. But the share of their partners reacheth not Allah, whilst the share of Allah reacheth their partners. Evil and unjust is their judgment. Even so, in the eyes of most of the pagans, their partners made alluring the slaughter of the children in order to lead them to their own destruction and cause confusion in their religion. If Allah had willed, they would not have done so, but leave alone them and what they forged. And they say that such and such cattle and crops are forbidden, and none should eat of them except those whom, so they say, we wish. Further, there are cattle forbidden to yoke and burden, and cattle on which at slaughter the name of Allah is not pronounced. forging a lie against Allah's name, soon will He requite them for what they forged. They say, what is in the wombs of such and such cattle is specially reserved for food for our men and forbidden to our women. But it is stillborn but if it is stillborn, then all have shares therein. For their false attribution of superstitions to Allah, He will soon punish them, for He is full of wisdom and knowledge. Lost are those who slay their children from folly without knowledge and forbid food which Allah hath provided for them, forging lies against Allah. They have indeed gone astray and had heeded no guidance. It is He who produceth gardens and with trellises and without and dates and tilth with produce of all kinds and olives and pomegranates similar in kind and different in variety. Eat of their fruit in their season, but render the dues that are proper on the day that the harvest is gathered. But waste not by excess, for Allah loveth not the wasters. Of the cattle are some for burden and some for meat. Eat what Allah provided for you, and follow not the footsteps of Satan, for he is for to you an avowed enemy. So, Satan to us is an avowed enemy. Innahu lakum aduwwum mubin. So this is the verse. This also the similar passages also mention other verses as well. This is important. Let us keep this in mind. It will be necessary for us during our discussion on the Dajjal as well as in our discussion on Surah Kahf. So don't follow the footsteps of Satan. Khutwati shaitan. Innahu lakum aduwwum mubin. For he is to you an avowed enemy, a clear a clear enemy, an open enemy. Take 8 head of cattle in 4 pairs, of sheep a pair, of goats a pair. Say, hath he forbidden the 2 males or the 2 females, or the young which the wombs of the 2 females enclose? Tell me with knowledge if ye are truthful. Of camels a pair, and of oxen a pair. Say, hath he forbidden the 2 males or the 2 females, or the young which the wombs of the 2 females enclose? Were ye present when Allah ordered you such a thing? But who doth more wrong than one who invents a lie against Allah to lead astray men without knowledge? For Allah guideth not people who do wrong. Say, I find not in the message received by me by inspiration any meat forbidden to be eaten by one who wishes to eat it, unless it be dead meat, or blood poured forth, or the flesh of swine, for it is an abomination, or what is impious meat on which a name hath been invoked other than Allah's. So this message is now repeated. It was also mentioned, if you remember, in Surah Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 3. And this is again repeated in Surah Anam, chapter number 6, verse number 145. But even so, if a person is forced by necessity without willful disobedience, nor transgressing due limits, thy Lord is oft forgiving, most merciful. For those who follow the Jewish law, we forbade every animal with undivided hoof, and we forbade them the fat of the ox and the sheep, except what adheres to their backs or their entails, or is mixed up with the bone. This in recompense for their willful disobedience, for we are true in our ordinances. If they accuse thee of falsehood, say, your Lord is full of mercy, all embracing. But from people in guilt never will his wrath be turned back. Those who give partners to Allah will say, if Allah had wished, we should not have given partners to him, nor would our fathers, nor should we have had any forbidden thing. So did their ancestors argue falsely until they tasted of our wrath? Say, have ye any certain knowledge? If so, produce it before us. Ye follow nothing but conjecture, ye do nothing but lie. Say, with Allah is the argument that reaches home. If it had been His will, He could indeed have guided you all. Say, bring forward your witnesses to prove that Allah did forbid so and so. If they bring such witnesses, be not thou amongst them, nor follow thou the vain desires of such as treat our signs as falsehoods, and such as believe not in the hereafter. For they hold others as equal with the guardian Lord. Say, come, I will rehearse what Allah hath really prohibited you from. Join not anything with him. Be good to your parents. Kill not your children on a plea of want. We provide sustenance for you and for them. Come not nigh to indecent deeds, whether open or secret. Take not life which Allah hath made sacred, except by way of justice and law. Thus doth He command you, that ye may learn wisdom. And come not nigh to the orphan's property, except to improve it until he attain the age of full strength. Give measure and weight with full justice. No burden do we place on any soul but that which it can bear. Whenever ye speak, speak justly, even if a near relative is concerned, and fulfill the covenant of Allah. Thus doth He command you, that ye may remember. Verily, this is my way, leading straight. Follow it, follow not other paths. They will scatter you about from His path. Thus doth He command you, that ye may be righteous. Moreover, we gave Moses the book, completing our favor to those who would do right, and explaining all things in detail, and a guide and mercy, that they might believe in the meeting with their Lord. And this is a book which we have revealed as a blessing, so follow it and be righteous, that ye may receive mercy. Lest ye should say, the book was sent down to two peoples before us, and for our part we remained unacquainted with all that they learned by assiduous study. Or lest ye should say, if the book had only been sent down to us, we should have followed its guidance better than they. Now then hath come unto you a clear sign from your Lord, and a guide and a mercy. Then who could do more wrong than one who rejecteth Allah's signs, and turneth away therefrom? In good time shall we requite those who turn away from our signs with a dreadful chastisement for their turning away. Are they waiting to see if the angels come down, if the angels come to them, or the Lord Himself, or certain of the signs of the Lord? The day that certain of the signs of the Lord do come, no good will it do to a soul to believe then, if it believed not before, nor earned righteousness through its faith. Say, well ye, we too are waiting. Say, wait ye, we too are waiting. As for those who divide the religion and break up into sects, thou hast no part in them in the least. The affair is with Allah. He will in the end tell them of the truth of all that they did. So don't divide into sects. This Surah Anam, chapter number 6, verse number 159, a very important verse. In fact, the previous verse was also very important. Surah Anam, chapter 6, verse number 158. It says, no good will it do to a soul to believe then, if it believed not before, nor earned righteousness through its faith. So there are certain signs of the end times, of the last age of Akhiruz Zaman, which after it is revealed, then after that, even if you believe in Allah, then there is no good. It doesn't benefit you at that time, unless you have believed in Allah before that. So these signs are not mentioned in the Quran. It just mentions some signs. There are three signs actually which are mentioned in these statements. This is in conjunction with the signs of the last age, a topic which is connected to Surah Kahf and Akhiruz Zaman, and we'll take up this issue. You just remember for now, this is Surah Anam, chapter number 6, verse number 158, and we'll take this up for more discussion during a discussion on Surah Kahf. He that doeth good, he that doeth good shall have 10 times as much to his credit. He that doeth evil shall only be recompensed according to his evil. So this is the verse which I was referring to. The basic message is obvious, and this is the interpretation from which certain scholars have derived the understanding that the hell will actually not last forever. To the extent that the sins are compensated and their existence is done away with at that point of time, the hell would have no purpose left. So the hell would be done away with as well at that point of time. Makes sense in the light of what we spoke, and in support of what we already said, and also in support of this. This was also acts as an added support. And we did bring up this message at that time as well. No, so He that doeth good shall have 10 times as much to his credit. He that doeth evil shall only be recompensed according to his evil. No wrong shall be done unto them. Say, verily, my Lord hath guided me to a way that is straight, a religion of right, the path trod by Abraham the true in faith. And he certainly joined not gods with Allah. Say, truly, my prayer and my service of sacrifice, my life, my death, are all for Allah, the cherisher of the worlds. This is a prayer which we can pray. This is a wonderful prayer. Say, truly, my prayer and my service of sacrifice, my life and my death are all for Allah, the cherisher of the worlds. No partner hath he, this am I commanded, and I am the first of those who submit to his will. I am the first of the Muslims. I am the first Muslim. Say, shall I seek for my Lord other than Allah, when he is the cherisher of all things that exist? Every soul draws the meed of its acts on none but itself. No bearer of burdens can bear the burden of another. Your return in the end is towards Allah. He will tell you the truth of the things wherein ye disputed. It is He who hath made you the inheritors of the earth. He hath raised you in ranks, some above others, that He may try you in the gifts He hath given you. For thy Lord is quick in punishment, yet He is indeed oft forgiving, most merciful. So with this we come to the end of Surah Anam, and inshallah in the next session we'll start with Surah Araf.